Hello, welcome to another video. Please like, share and subscribe for more amazing story. True God in Another Worlds, Tensura x Tbate, by Tempest_King_20. Chapter 44, The Disciplinary Committee, Arthur Lewin Pav. As I opened the door to the back entrance of the DC auditorium, a blast of air hit me like a wave, carrying with it a surprising and deafening greeting. My hair was tousled by the blood-curdling roar that echoed through the corridor. Along with the roar came a shower of bullets of saliva that landed on my face and upper chest, making me blink in surprise and disgust. There. While wiping off the spit of the mana beast, I nonchalantly proceeded to pet its face, which was inches away from my own. This mana beast stood about 2 meters high on all fours. Its body was covered in thick dark brown fur and a deep red mane circled its head. 2 pointed, vicious teeth spouted out from above its jaw, making it all the more menacing. Despite its fearsome exterior, I couldn't help but see it as nothing more than an overgrown kitten compared to Sylvie's dragon form. As I continued to pet the mana beast, a voice interrupted my thoughts. Whoa! He wasn't surprised at all. From behind the mana beast peeked out a student that looked to be a couple of years older than I was. He had very dull, light gray, almost white, hair that reached over his brows. He had narrow eyes that were virtually slits, and his smile seemed more mocking than welcoming. Though lean and tall, his overall frame looking quite frail. What stuck out the most, however, was that his uniform was very different from mine and any other I'd seen so far. He wore a loose, dark gray Oriental-style robe that covered his arms and came down past his torso, black pants, and a golden sash tied around his waist. Peeking out of the inside of his robe was the insignia that all of the disciplinary committee members had to carry around, the silver knife. Something felt a tad off about him, something that made me wary. You must be the last DC officer to arrive. My name is Kai Crestless, a 4th year. Just call me Kai. His expression didn't change at all. His eyes still narrowed and lips still smiling, but he put up his arm in a welcoming gesture, revealing hands that were completely wrapped in bandages so that it looked like he had gloves on. I nodded politely, trying to ignore the uneasy feeling that crept up my spine. Hello. My name is Arthur Lewin. Pleased to make your acquaintance. I shook his bandaged hand, noting the slight widening of his eyes at the mention of my name. Lewin? Are you the leader, Rimuru's brother? Kai asked, curiously. Yes, I'm his twin, I replied, confirming my identity as Rimuru's brother. Twin? You don't look alike, came a voice from behind me, catching me off guard. I turned to see a female dwarf approaching, and couldn't help but remember what Elijah had told me yesterday before dinner. Her thick limbs and sturdy frame gave her a formidable appearance. Her long brown hair and high-pitched voice were the only hints of her femininity, standing out against her otherwise masculine features. Looks like we'll be working together, so I might as well introduce myself. I'm Doradria Orgard, a 1st year, like yourself. Let's get along, EY. She said simply while firmly smacking my back, sending a jolt throughout my body. What a power. Arthur Lewin. Nice to meet you, I replied, rubbing my back where Doradria had playfully smacked me. Well, come on now. Follow me. Kai and I waited in the front to see who the last guy was going to be. The rest of the DC officers are in the other room. Director Goodsky didn't really give us any details, so everyone is curious. Doradria explained, her voice filled with excitement and anticipation as she led me through a hall, Kai following behind us with the mana beast. Everyone. The last guy is here. Doradria shouted at the top of her lungs as we reached a room at the end of the hall. Inside the gigantic room that I figured was used to hold events, I saw 5 other figures. Without further ado, I walked up closer to greet them all at once. My name is Arthur Lewin and I just started attending this academy as a scholar mage student. I am a dual elemental attribute augmenter capable in wind and earth. I offered a curt bow. Arthur Lewin. The first voice that spoke up sounded surprised. Looking back up, I saw a boy that appeared to be around 17. He had deep, mahogany-colored hair that spiked out, making him look almost like a lion himself. His fierce sword-shaped brows combined with his strong brown eyes produced a striking gaze. It took me a couple of seconds, but I soon realized who he was. If I remember correctly, you must be Prince Glader. The longer I looked at him, the more confident I became that he was Curtis Glader, son of Sapien's king. I can hardly call myself a prince now ever since the 3 kings and queens dismissed their titles and became the council. Just call me Curtis. He spoke very charismatically, his deep voice carrying a certain depth. His expression was a bit troubled though, no doubt because his father's guard did cause some problems for me the last time we met. Nice to see you again, Curtis. You must be a 5th year now, right? I responded cheerily, which eased the troubled look he had. Yup. 5th year fire attribute augmenter as well as a beast tamer. Nice to see you again, he announced as we grasped hands. Curtis's uniform looked much more intricate than Kai's loose-fitting robe. His outfit reminded me of an old-fashioned military uniform without the cap. His black blazer had dark gray accents and gold buttons. A military cord attached from his right shoulder to the collar of his blazer, giving a refined yet fierce air to him. Ah, that world lion that greeted me must be the one your father acquired at the auction several years back. Everything clicked as the mana beast that so kindly greeted me sat down behind Curtis. Ah. Did Kai use Grotter to scare you? He shot a look at Kai who just shrugged back. Anyways, yes. I remember you were with us when we purchased him as a cub. We formed an equals contract last year after he reached a class. He tried to sound humble but I could tell he was extremely proud to call himself a beast tamer. I didn't mind because it really was a great feat he had accomplished, especially since he was able to form an equals contract instead of a master-servant contract with his beast. Looking closely, Curtis and his world lion looked oddly similar. Curtis's hair and Grotter's mane were of comparable color and both of them had a fierce look. Ah, right. You remember my sister, Kathy LN, right? He continued. The pretty, petite black-haired girl gave me a silent bow. She was dressed very similarly to his brother except instead of pants. She wore a skirt that came down above her knees, much like all the other girls in this academy. The only girl I'd seen so far that hasn't worn a skirt was Doradria, which I had no complaints about. Nice to see you again. I gave a simple bow in response. She had grown to look more and more like her mother. The stark contrast of her flawless porcelain skin and her jet black hair, dark eyes, and long lashes made her look like a doll. Nice to meet you once more, Arthur. I am a 1st year as well, coming in as a scholar mage student. I am a single specialist conjurer in ice attribute magic. She bowed once more, her expression set like stone. I see. She's a deviant. I guess I'm next, although the order is off. My name is Claire. Claire Bladeheart. After the new changes in the school grade system, I'm considered a 6th year battle mage student with dual attribute in fire and wind, and I'm also the deputy of the disciplinary committee. I'm an augmenter like yourself, so just ask me if you have any questions. This upperclassman oozed positivity and passion from her very pores. She wasn't nearly as pretty as Tess or Kathy LN, but she did have her own charm, with her scarlet red hair that came down to her chin. Claire wore a military-style uniform as well, but instead of golden cord like the Glader siblings, both her shoulders had gold epaulettes, which were basically ornamental shoulder pads along with an embellished collar that went up around her neck. That, along with her light gray and gold accented skirt with knee-high boots, gave her uniform a much more royal feel compared to my simple one. I tried imagining myself in a uniform like Claire's or Curtis's and I shuddered at the thought. While it looked great on her, I was glad that the DC officer uniforms were tailored to each of their preferences and that Director Goodsky made mine much simpler. It took me a second to register, but I suddenly remembered why her name sounded so familiar. Are you perhaps related to Caspian Bladeheart? I questioned. Oh, do you know my uncle? She tilted her head to one side. No, I've just heard many great things about Caspian Bladeheart's strength from my father's ex-party member. I gave her a warm smile as she nodded in understanding. I see. Well, I received training from my uncle as soon as I had awakened, so many of my techniques are similar to his. Of course, I still have a long way to go, though. I saw her place a hand on the golden hilt of the rapier strapped on her left side. Long time no see, Arthur Lewin. A tall blonde elf that looked to be a couple of years older than me walked up, crossing his arms while he looked down at me. Ah, Fei-Fi. I pointed at him in surprise. Boy, did he get big. He was at least a head taller than me and he turned out to become quite the pretty boy. Fei-Fi's face instantly turned beet red as he placed both hands on my shoulders. It's Fei-Rith. Fei-Rith Ivsar III. And although I'm a 1st year like you, I'm still a couple of years older than you, so don't call me by nicknames. I'm a water specialist conjurer, by the way. I could see veins popping from his forehead. Haha. Long time no see, I exclaimed as I shook his hands. His uniform was completely black with gold stripes across his shoulders. It was simpler than everyone else's, but it suited him well. Last but not least, this is Theodore Maxwell. Claire got in between Fairith and I and directed my attention to the last member. HMPH. Seems like the disciplinary committee has stooped low enough to recruit twerps. Theodore stood up and I swore I thought he was a bear. He stood at about 2 meters high at least, easily around the same height as Grotter. His uniform was just a vest that was unbuttoned, revealing his bulging muscles. By the tear marks on the arm openings of the vest, I could assume it wasn't originally designed as a vest. He stood in front of me and placed a hand on my shoulder. Suddenly, I felt the weight on top of me increase several times over as my feet began sinking, the floor around me beginning to crack. This was a deviant capable of manipulating gravity. My body was able to withstand it thanks to the assimilation I had gone through with Sylvia's dragon wool, but I still definitely felt my body begin to protest. I strengthened my body further with mana as I lifted his hand off of my shoulder, my eyes dead set on Theodore. He wanted to test me, HMPH. Feeling the cold, wordless gaze I gave to him, Theodore released his skill and walked away, muttering, "Not bad." A whistle sounded from the cluster of students. Arthur has guts. Fairith crumbled to his knees when Theodore did that to him. Kai snickered from the side.
Hey, I'm a conjurer and Arthur is an augmenter. Please do not compare me to brutes like you guys, Fairith lashed out, his face turning a heated shade of red from the embarrassment coursing through his veins. Also, Arthur is the leader twin, Fairith muttered, his words almost a whisper as he struggled to maintain his composure.
Claire's eyes widened in disbelief as she processed the revelation. Wait, really? She exclaimed, taking a step closer to me. Her gaze was intense, searching for any resemblance between me and my twin. No matter how I look at you, you don't look like him. I let out a weary sigh, realizing I would have to explain once again why I and Rimuru didn't look alike. Rimuru took after our grandparents in terms of appearance, while I inherited the features of our parents, I explained, a hint of exasperation creeping into my voice. That's why we don't look alike. As I glanced around, I could feel the weight of the other DC office's eyes on me, curiosity piqued by the revelation of my identity as Rimuru's twin. While I had anticipated some surprise, their reactions seemed to be a mix of confusion and disbelief, their faces a reflection of their internal struggle to process the information. Theodore spoke up, his eyes narrowing ever so slightly. Interesting, he remarked, his voice tinged with curiosity. I never would have guessed that Rimuru had a twin brother. It seems like everyone is already here. Rimuru entered the room with a smile on his face. Captain, you didn't tell us you had a twin, Doradria exclaimed, a hint of disappointment lacing her words. Rimuru chuckled, his eyes sparkling mischievously. Well, I wanted to surprise you, but now that the cat's out of the bag, I'd like you all to meet my twin brother, Arthur. The atmosphere shifted as Claire took charge, her voice filled with enthusiasm. Let's focus on the exciting times ahead. We're a team now, so let's bond and get closer. Look forward to it. With a beaming smile, she extended her hand as a symbol of unity.
I'm looking forward to it. Kai chimed in, his face still bearing a mocking smile as he placed his bandaged hand on top of Claire's. Sounds like we're going to have some interesting times. Doradria enthusiastically got on her toes, placing her beefy hand on top of Kai's, her presence and strength resonating with determination. Haha, yes, let's do our best. Curtis joined in, placing his hand in as well, with Kathy LN quietly following suit, her commitment evident in her actions. Exhaustion already creeping in, I couldn't help but chuckle softly. I'm sure it'll be a blast, I quietly breathed out, my hand finding its place on top of Catherine's. Sylvie ran down Rimuru's arm and placed her paw in the center of the circle, adding her own presence to the mix. Theodore, the imposing figure of the group, placed his massive hand on top of Sylvie's paw, causing the entire circle to stumble a step forward. As if on cue, Claire's big, confident smile emerged, her voice ringing out as she shouted, to us. The disciplinary committee. dash 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 dash. Seal POV. As I settled into my plush seat in the expansive hall, I couldn't help but take note of the diverse individuals around me. The dim lights cast a soft glow on the opulent surroundings, making everything seem more intriguing and mysterious. To my left sat Sylvia. Her shimmering white hair cascaded down her shoulders in loose waves, perfectly complementing her elegant demeanor. She exuded an air of confidence, her mischievous eyes scanning the room with a twinkle of excitement. Beside Sylvia sat the three mischievous troublemakers: Lloyd, Anna, and Lena. Lloyd, with his yellow hair and a smile permanently etched on his face, was always the instigator of their escapades. Anna, a girl of undeniable charm, mesmerized everyone with her striking purple eyes that shone with mischief. And then there was Lena, sitting quietly between her boisterous companions, her shy nature contrasting starkly with their rambunctious personalities. But it seemed that the title of mischievous was misplaced for Lena. Unlike her cohorts, she was known for her quiet nature and reluctance to participate in their pranks. All the students were gathered here, in this grand hall, to witness the announcement of the disciplinary committee, a group responsible for maintaining order and handling disciplinary issues within the academy. And as I was told before, Arthur and Rimuru were among its members, with Rimuru assuming the role of its leader. A small smile tugged at the corners of my lips as I contemplated the irony of Rimuru being appointed as the leader of the committee. It was common knowledge that he had hoped to escape the burden of paperwork during this trip. But fate had other plans in store for him, as he would now find himself shouldering the responsibility of handling administrative tasks, a fate he certainly did not anticipate. As the intros began, Tessia and the rest of the student council took to the stage. They seemed to strengthen a bit what was said on the first day, along with important notices such as the existence of extra clubs that students could have if they weren't full of classes. Before the club rush commences, the student council would like to formally introduce to you, the students of this academy, a group that was personally picked by the director in hopes to resolve and prevent disputes among students as well as enforce penalizing measures for troublemakers. While the student council's main job is to help the director make sure this academy and the events held run smoothly, this group's job allows them to use magic appropriately to maintain the peace and safety of students, whether against other students or trespassers. Me in welcoming the disciplinary committee. As Tessia uttered her last words, signaling the momentous unveiling of the disciplinary committee, a wave of applause erupted throughout the auditorium. The sound reverberated off the high ceilings, echoing with a sense of anticipation and enthusiasm. Excitement permeated the air, tangible and infectious. It was impossible not to feel the collective thrill and curiosity that coursed through the students around me. Sylvia, unable to contain her amusement, nudged me gently with a mischievous grin playing on her lips. Her white hair shimmered under the subdued lights, adding an ethereal charm to her mischievous aura. "Looks like Rimuru's getaway plan just backfired," she whispered under her breath, her eyes twinkling mischievously. I couldn't contain my amusement, and a soft chuckle escaped my lips in perfect agreement with her comment. My gaze naturally drifted across the lavishly decorated stage, purposefully examining each disciplinary committee member before ultimately landing on Rimuru. There he stood, an ethereal presence against the platform, his lithe form pressed confidently against its edges. Each hand rested firmly on the glossy surface, displaying a sense of assurance that seemed to emanate from the core of his being. His silver blue hair, like a waterfall frozen in time, cascaded down with a lustrous brilliance that caught the very essence of the stage lighting. The vibrant hues cast a radiant glow upon his surroundings, illuminating the ornate backdrop of the hall. Though his hair no longer flowed freely down his back like it once did, its shorter and more refined length still possessed a certain elegance, grazing his shoulders with a graceful finesse. Dressed impeccably in the standard black military attire shared by his fellow committee members, Rimuru's ensemble held a subtle distinction. The sleek fabric clung to his muscled form, accentuating his chiseled physique and giving the ensemble a sense of profound regality. Adorning both of his broad and powerful shoulders were striking gold epaulettes, intricate and opulent, standing as symbols of his authority. An embellished collar, exquisitely adorned with delicate patterns that gracefully wrapped around his neck, added to the air of nobility that seemed to envelop him entirely. His piercing golden eyes, like orbs of molten gold, seemed to possess an otherworldly quality as they scanned the room. They effortlessly delved into the depths of every student's soul, emanating a sense of understanding and acceptance. But as fortune would have it, his gaze eventually found our group, transforming into an almost imperceptible smile that danced upon his lips. For a fleeting moment, his attention was undeniably fixated on us, before he redirected his focus back to the rest of the students, his enigmatic aura never once wavering. Welcome, students of Xyrus Academy. Rimuru's voice resonated through the grand hall, each syllable carrying an undeniable authority. The expanse of his voice filled the space, commanding attention and respect from every corner. As you all may be aware, this marks the first year for our friends from the Elven and Dwarven communities at our distinguished academy. We are incredibly thrilled to have them join our community, expanding our horizons and enriching our experiences. I stand before you as the representative of the Disciplinary Committee, a dedicated group entrusted with upholding the principles of integrity, discipline, and fairness within our esteemed institution, Rimuru continued, his voice radiating a firmness tempered by compassion. He paused, allowing his words to sink in, before continuing, it is our sacred duty to ensure that each and every student feels safe and supported throughout their time here. Together, we shall be the guardians of justice, the sentinels of order, and the arbiters of fairness. With this charge, we pledge to guide you, mentor you, and, when necessary, discipline you. Silence enveloped the hall as Rimuru's words lingered in the air. The students, now fully engaged, could feel the weight of his responsibility, his commitment to fostering an environment of safety and support. His firm but gentle tone resonated with a sense of understanding, assuring even the most apprehensive souls that they were in capable hands. As committee members, Rimuru continued, his voice now carrying a soothing quality, we hold ourselves accountable for creating an environment where each and every student can thrive. We recognize the significance of not only safety but also support. We vow to be the staunch guardians of justice, the unwavering enforcers of rules, and the impartial arbiters of fairness. With your trust, we will forge a community that values mutual respect, empathy, and growth. His words, carefully chosen and delivered with a profound sense of purpose, carried the weight of experience. Rimuru understood the immense impact his role had on shaping the academic journey of the students before him. His voice, a harmonious melody, exuded empathy, bridging the gap between authority and understanding. In this pursuit of upholding values, the disciplinary committee will not hesitate to take strict action against any violation of the existing rules, Rimuru declared, his voice growing firmer, more resolute. The quiet reverence that had shrouded the hall now found itself pierced by an unwavering determination. Noble status, or any such frivolities, will hold no sway here. Let it be known that we are granted the authority to enforce discipline upon every soul within these hallowed halls, be it student or teacher. We shall not tolerate any form of misconduct or mistreatment, Rimuru emphasized, his voice steady and resolute. The principles of integrity and fairness are the bedrock upon which this institution stands, and it is our solemn pledge to uphold them. Acts of bullying, discrimination, or harassment will be met with swift and appropriate consequences. We shall not waver. His voice, now touched by a note of sternness, sent ripples of understanding through the room. The students knew that Rimuru and the disciplinary committee took their role seriously, their commitment to maintaining a safe and respectful learning environment unwavering. But let it also be known, Rimuru continued, his voice softening, imbued with compassion, that our role extends beyond mere enforcement. We value growth and redemption. Our goal is not just to punish but to guide, to help you become the best version of yourself. When you stumble, we will be there to provide guidance and support, to help you learn from your actions and make amends. For we understand that true discipline and fairness go hand in hand with personal development and growth. Rimuru's words held a reassuring quality, wrapping the students in a cocoon of understanding and empathy. It was evident that, beyond their role as enforcers, the disciplinary committee understood the transformative power of compassion. The disciplinary committee stands not only as a symbol of authority but also as a beacon of integrity within this institution, Rimuru concluded, his voice ringing with conviction. We encourage you to reach out to us if you have any concerns, for we are dedicated to hearing your voices, to addressing any issues that may arise. Together, let us forge a community that values mutual respect, understanding, and growth. Let us embark on this journey united, ensuring that every student can thrive in a safe and conducive environment for learning. A collective breath was released as Rimuru's words settled upon the hearts of those gathered. The grand hall, pulsing with energy, now bore witness to the beginning of a new chapter in the Academy's history. And with Rimuru at the helm, the students knew they were in steadfast hands, their academic journey guided by discipline, fairness, and unwavering compassion. The grand hall buzzed with anticipation, the air crackling with electricity as the students eagerly awaited Rimuru's speech. The sound of applause erupted, echoing throughout the expansive space, sending vibrations through the very souls of those present. It was a moment that marked a turning point, a newfound trust and assurance filling the hearts of the students. Among the sea of students stood Lloyd, his eyes sparkling with stars as he gazed at Rimuru. A wide smile adorned his face, displaying his sheer admiration for his brother figure. Lena and Anna shared his expression of awe, their eyes gleaming with a mixture of respect and eagerness. "He's incredible," Lloyd exclaimed with a childlike excitement. "Brother Rimuru knows how to captivate a room like no other." "I never would have imagined Rimuru becoming the leader of the disciplinary committee," Anna chimed in, her purple eyes shining with admiration. "He's always been so laid back and carefree, but right now he's commanding the attention and respect of everyone in this hall." As the conversation flowed, Sylvia smirked mischievously, directing her gaze at me. "What do you think, Seal, about Rimuru's newfound dedication to justice?" I paused for a moment, contemplating Sylvia's question. While the students around me were swayed by Rimuru's words, I saw through the veneer of his impassioned speech. Rimuru, the one I had stood by all these years, was not the embodiment of justice. He had always prioritized enjoyment and peace over the lofty ideals of right and wrong. I shrugged my shoulders, wordlessly expressing my doubt. Rimuru's words seemed empty, devoid of any real conviction or belief. He portrayed an image of justice, but I knew better. However, the students seemed to be captivated by his charisma and his ability to ignite their desire for a higher purpose in their actions. As the applause began to die out, the students gradually dispersed, their minds filled with swirling thoughts and emotions. I couldn't help but wonder if Rimuru's words held any truth at all. Was justice merely an illusion, crafted by those in power to maintain control? Or was there more to it, a deeper meaning that was worth fighting for? A sideways glance at Rimuru revealed him surrounded by his new disciplinary committee members, laughing and engaging in lighthearted banter. He appeared carefree, unaffected by the weight of his words. Yet, amidst my contemplation, a thought took hold of my mind. Perhaps Rimuru's indifference to justice was not a display of apathy or cynicism, but rather a reflection of his unique perspective. The countless years he had existed had bestowed upon him a profound understanding of the world, a realization that justice was a complex concept that defied a simple dichotomy of right and wrong. Maybe, just maybe, Rimuru's true purpose in leading the disciplinary committee was not to enforce justice in the conventional sense, but to challenge the very notion of it. He aimed to question the boundaries imposed by society, to provoke thought and incite change. A chuckle escaped my lips as I shook my head, realizing the futility of trying to understand Rimuru's motivations and beliefs. His enigmatic nature was beyond the grasp of mere mortals. Even I, Manas, could not fully understand him. As I bid the grand hall farewell, thoughts of justice and Rimuru's words continued to swirl in my mind. A flicker of excitement ignited within me, an anticipation of the unknown. Maybe, just maybe, there was a depth to this noble mission that surpassed my initial understanding. And perhaps, as Rimuru's partner, his presence would continue to challenge and shape my own beliefs, for better or for worse. Rimuru, the seemingly carefree and indifferent god-like entity, and I, Seal, his partner who has been by his side for countless years. We both understand the transient nature of justice and morality, and can only try to navigate our roles in this unpredictable world.